2023 for the backyard. Guys, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I think we have officially set the record for the least amount of backyard events in a single year, being 18. I'm not joking. I did not just make that up. That's actually serious. Correction, apparently 2017 still holds the record for the least amount of events in a single year, being 17. Dang it, we were that close! Now, to be fair, one of the main reasons why there were not that many events this year could be mainly because this year saw a massive amount of improvements to the backyard, specifically its layout. Oh, and we will get to this later, because it really changed how some parts of the year played out in terms of event. To start off the year, we have the return of the New Year's party after 2 years after not including it in 2022. Mainly because the Christmas event went up longer than usual, and I wasn't doing backyard videos at the time. Thankfully, I actually remembered again in 2023, and here we are. The New Year's party of 2023. It started on January 1st and ended on the 5th. Since this was the first New Year's party in 2 years since 2021, not much really happened. Like the 2021 New Year's party, it took place at night, and there were 2 items given out, such as a pin and background respectively, which we can see right there. The background was also very cool, and it was colored in green because, hey, why not? Besides that, it was great to have the event back after 2 years, and I still do apologize for not doing it the year prior. Don't worry, for 2024, it is back. Because, actually, ironically, I am actually filming this story a few days before 2024. So, that's actually a surprising coincidence. There is not much else to say about this party. It was just great to finally have it back after 2 years. And yeah, with all that being said, let's move on. The next event to occur in the backyard was the Color Party 5th anniversary. It started on January 5th and ended on the 8th. This party celebrated the 5-year anniversary of the Color Party of its original debut in 2018 on January 5th, 2018. While the original video for the original Color Party 5 years prior was filmed the day after it started, this technically was still considered its anniversary. To celebrate this anniversary, there were colors all across the backyard. The workshop featured every single color featured in the party. And we had 2 entirely new colors as well, being lavender and white respectively. Despite this being an anniversary party for the event, it mainly acted like all the other previous color parties. There were colors scattered around the backyard. For example, the shed was purple. The tripod area was green. The pond view was white, which was one of the 2 new colors in this party. The field was red. The tree next to the garden was blue. And lastly, the side yard was lavender. Now, originally, an actual color party for the year was supposed to be held later on in the year. Specifically, I think like June or something, or that might have been 2022, but that never ended up happening. So this ended up being the only color party themed event this entire year. But to be quite honest, that actually is probably for the better. Because at this point, we were holding this event way too much. I wanted to bring it back one last time just for its anniversary. And I have a good feeling that I'm not going to be bringing it back in 2024. So, yeah, I think that was a good way to wrap it up for a while. Speaking of wrapping it up, that's it for this event. Let's move on. The next event to occur in the backyard for 2023 is the Winter Party 2023. It started on January 30th and ended on February 7th. Now, even though we had just had the Winter Party combined in with the Christmas Party just over a month prior, I wanted to bring the Winter Party back to being a standalone event, to also make up for that as well. Now, if I'm being quite honest with all of you, this had to be one of the smallest winter parties in the entire backyard's history. I think I even admitted it myself in the original video here. Like all the other winter parties, this featured winter decorations. Specifically the ones we got for the Christmas party just a month prior, as we did have to replace all of them in December of 2022 because they got destroyed. Meaning any leftover decorations I had from that time were used for this party. And I didn't have too many, so this was much smaller than normal. But that was okay. It ended up being very cool in the process. And a ton of items were given out. Like, basically every single item in this party was brand new, I think, except for the winter scarf. So, That was cool! Regardless, despite it being a bit of a smaller party than usual, this ended up being really cool. Yup, this featured all new decorations, which was super cool at the time. So that's what also made this very special. Not only were basically every item new, but all the decorations were brand new, coming from that previous party, but now standalone. So that was really cool. And this honestly had to be my personal favorite room, the tree next to the garden. It did not need to look that good, but the snowflake lights just make it so good. And well, that's really it for this party. So, let's move on. The next party to occur in the backyard for 2023 was the Valentine's Day party of 2023. It started on February 14th and ended on February 17th, lasting only 3 days, as opposed to the previous year's 5 days ending on the 19th. This party was very, very special and would be the first of many events to feature entirely new decorations. In fact, actual decorations dedicated to the holiday. Yes, finally, after 5 years of just making decorations on my own, I actually found actual decorations that relate to the holiday itself. And this would be the first time of many throughout the year, as I just said that this would happen, which we'll get to very soon. This was genuinely amazing, as we finally had decorations to call its own. And I could not be more proud. Of course, I still made some things from myself, such as a few items. Not only were all the decorations entirely new, but all the items were new as well. This event also featured the first custom shirt of 2023, so that was also a cool bonus. And we had necklaces made out of hearts. That was so cool. This honestly had to be one of the best Valentine's Day parties I have done yet. Now that we have decorations to officially call their own, and legitimate items that are officially also there to call its own, this honestly had to be the best Valentine's Day party I ever did. And the fact that it took me 5 years to finally find actual legitimate decorations somewhere is insane. And it turned out great. With all that said, let's move on to the next event. Actually, there was a month-long gap between this event and the next one, and that was because it was time to fix up the shed. Yeah, remember in the Backyard Events 2022 story when I said we would eventually fix up the shed to prevent my decorations and anything else from getting destroyed ever again? Well, we did exactly that on March 1st, 2023. The shed renovation project. This isn't an event, but it is one of the major improvements of the backyard in 2023. We did this mainly because not only of what I just said, but the shed was a very, very big mess on the inside and definitely needed to be redone to prevent any of that from happening again. And we did exactly that, because a week later on March 8th, 2023, the shed was officially redone, officially getting rid of basically any of the problems we had before this. And we also made sure to put shelves and have bins for all of my decorations in there to prevent them from getting destroyed ever again. Thankfully, ever since this happened, we have never had an issue with my decorations getting destroyed ever since. Which means this project was a success, and could also explain the long gap between the Valentine's Day party and the next event, as this needed to be taken care of before anything else. Fun fact, this was actually supposed to be done at the very beginning of 2023, because at the end of 2022, around like December 30th, which is ironically a year ago now, we threw out a majority of basically everything that was in there and needed to have it redone. It didn't happen until March though, because we kind of forgot about it. But hey, we did it regardless, and it came out fantastic. But that was only the first out of a few other incredible changes that came to the backyard that year. With the shed now in a much better state than it was before, we could go back and continue things as normal. The project started on March 1st and ended on the 8th, lasting exactly 1 week. What's funny though is that the only 2 days this project was worked on was the day that it started, March 1st, and the day that it ended, March 8th. Nothing else was done in between these days. That was kind of funny, but also kind of annoying. Now that that was taken care of, the next party was the St. Patrick's Day Party 2023. It started on March 13th and ended on the 18th, lasting 5 days as well. Well, specifically 2 days longer than the Valentine's Day party. But regardless, like the Valentine's Day party, I could finally confirm that after 5 whole years, we have legitimate decorations dedicated to the holiday. And honestly, that was super cool. This would be the second event in a row to do that. And just like the Valentine's Day party, a necklace with entirely new decorations. The backyard was decorated in a St. Patrick's Day green theme as in tradition, but with actual decorations this time that were dedicated to the holiday, which just made it so much cooler. And honestly, all the decorations I found here were amazing, and I will still be using them in the next one. And I don't know, maybe I might go out and find another one, or a few more. Who knows? Regardless though, this was so cool to finally have legitimate decorations for this party, just like the Valentine's Day party. And that isn't even the last one to do that. Oh no, we still got a few more. And to be honest, that's all I got to say about this party. Let's move on. The next party to occur in the backyard was a combination of two. For the first time in 3 years since 2020, we finally have another subscriber milestone party, being the 700 subscribers party. And ironically, that wouldn't be the only subscriber milestone party for 2023. Oh no, we'll get to the others later. But why did I say that this was a combination of two? Well, ironically, the same day that I started this, and also ironically ended up being a last-minute decision right before I filmed the video, I even stated here in this, the celebration of spring 2023 coincided alongside this party, because it was actually supposed to be the main event of 2023 for March, but that was before I hit the milestone. So I thought, let's just combine both. And it came out amazing. All the decorations from the previous celebration of spring made a return, but were obviously moved around to make it as different as possible. Alongside that, we of course obviously had some celebration decorations for the 700 subscribers party, such as the pinwheels for clear examples, and the rings as well. So that was pretty cool. Because the celebration of spring was added in last minute, there were no items, being the first ever celebration of spring ever to not give out a single item. Honestly, combining the two made a lot of sense, because if it was just the 700 subscribers party, it would be very, very, very small. So combining both of them in made the event a lot cooler and a lot bigger. Of course, the only item given out was actually the 700 subscribers background, as obviously that was the only item that I originally put in. But regardless, this was a fun party. It started on March 29th and was originally supposed to end on April 1st, with the April Fool's party coinciding after that. But I forgot to take it down until April 7th, so the April Fool's party was entirely skipped, making this the first year ever to not have an April Fool's party. And out of all events to be skipped, for it being the first ever backyard event in, the entire backyard's history, that was really weird. I even apologized in the Easter episode, or at least the Easter event episode, for that as well. Speaking of Easter, because there was no April Fool's party, because that event went on way longer than it intentionally needed to, we jump automatically to the Easter event for 2023. It started on April 7th and ended on the 10th. This time, it thankfully ended the day it was supposed to. Just like the Valentine's Day party and St. Patrick's Day parties respectively, it's pretty obvious that now we have actual legitimate Easter decorations. I know, this couldn't have gotten any better, could it? Now with that in mind, the backyard was decorated with a ton of Easter decorations that I found out of nowhere. Most likely Dollar Tree if I had to remember. That's where I get a majority of them now. But to be honest though, this was so cool. Like those other two events I just mentioned, we finally had decorations to call their own for the Easter event. And I still have all of them. In fact, I still have all of these decorations for the 3 events I just keep mentioning here. So you will be seeing them again in 2024. Placed differently, of course. And maybe a few new ones if I can find any. Regardless, this was such a cool Easter party. An Easter egg hunt was held, like usual, on Easter itself, which gave out the only item in this party, the white/blue bunny ears. So that was really cool. While there were still a few spring decorations left up from the previous event because it ended up ending the same day that this started, That actually made a lot of sense as it was very colorful. Honestly, the decorations I got for this event were honestly so cool. And yes, that even was a pin, by the way. Alright, I think I've talked about this event long enough. Let's move on. Of course, we can't forget about the Earth Day party. Despite it only being like 1 day long, April 22nd. The Earth Day party of 2023. So yeah, it was only a 1 day party, as I just said, April 22nd. And was honestly, if I'm being quite honest, it was the smallest Earth Day party I have ever done. Literally only 3 rooms were decorated for this party, or actually I think 4, but regardless. Actually, yeah, I get it, like 3 or 4 rooms were decorated, but it was very, very small. Now, this could mainly be because we are about to enter the second major upgrade to the yard. Notice how there used to be a tree right here. Well, that is where things get interesting. Since I don't really have any Earth Day decorations pretty much at all, I had to use a majority of the spring decorations left over, which was actually kind of upsetting. But thankfully, the recycle hunt still returned like usual. So that was pretty cool. And for completing the scavenger hunt, we got the Earth Pin, which was pretty cool. There's not much to say about this party. But next up will ultimately change the rest of this year forever. Remember what you saw here in the intro about the whole layout potentially being entirely changed? Well, this is where it happens. On May 3rd, 2023, it was time to destroy the fence. If you've been managing to pay attention on any of the events we've been talking about so far, you may have noticed the fence was not doing so great. It was basically ready to fall apart. And that's where the fence project began. This was one of the biggest upgrades to the backyard ever in its history, because after it was destroyed, we were left with nothing. And it would actually stay like this for quite a while. And that was gonna be a major problem for any events I wanted to hold during this time. Without the fence, it would become much more complicated to hold events. Which is why the next event, the 1,100 episode party plus Backyard 5th anniversary party, would be held a month later. Specifically a month after the Earth Day party. But 3 weeks after the fence project began. So, this was actually really cool. And also kind of unexpected that we hit a milestone on the 5-year anniversary of me being in this backyard. That was super cool. And it wouldn't be the last time we would hit a milestone on a very special day. We'll get to that towards the end of the year. But with the fence being gone, that meant this event had to be majorly downgraded, as the field and pond view were legitimately closed off during this time, meaning they could not be decorated. We celebrated 5 years and the 1,100th episode with entirely new lays, which I guess you could count as this year's summer party, even though it was actually still May, but regardless. This also saw the return of the lays, after almost nearly 2 years, I think. But did I mention this party introduced 2 new lays? We had a blue lay and a green lay, which I found out of absolutely nowhere. And yes, they were both items during this party. I'm gonna be honest though, this had to be the weakest anniversary party for the backyard that I have ever done. Now again, granted, the fence was gone during this time, so I really couldn't do much, and yeah, with 2 areas completely closed off because of it being entirely open, I really couldn't do much to celebrate 5 years. But at least I did something really cool to celebrate 1,100. And yes, even a pin was given out for this. It was so cool. The logo also looked amazing as well. And a project was also done the same day as well. It started on May 24th and was originally supposed to end on May 27th, but I forgot to take it down all the way until May 31st by complete accident. Either way, this was a really cool way to celebrate both the 5-year anniversary and the 1,100th episode, even though it really wasn't the way I originally planned it to. Don't worry, we'll definitely do something a lot better for 6 years this coming May to definitely make up for all of this. regardless. And since there's no more improvements happening around the yard anymore, we should be able to get back to a more proper anniversary party. I also wanted to try something new as well, and not reuse the same concept for the 5th year in a row. So that also could probably explain too. I'm still proud of this, even though it was rather small. I'm just still glad I was able to still celebrate this regardless. And it was just really cool that we did end up hitting a milestone on this very special day. Unfortunately, because of so many consistent rainstorms throughout the month of June, and my lack of episodes in that month, and thirdly, the fence not going up at all that month, June was entirely skipped. Which means we fast forward all the way to the 4th of July party of 2023. It only lasted the one day, July 4th, and basically used every single decoration that we had the year prior, obviously placed differently. And unfortunately, the fence still wasn't up during this party, but it wouldn't be too much longer. The backyard was still decorated with a ton of 4th of July decorations, as I just said. And honestly, it actually came out pretty cool. With it being the first event in almost 2 months, it came out pretty well. And yeah. Well, it mainly did, again, use all of the decorations from the year prior, just placed differently. It honestly came out honestly amazing. And yeah, it also ended up being on the 5-year anniversary of the first ever 4th of July party, which is why I decided to go all out again, just like I did in 2022. But maybe not as crazy. But regardless, this was such a cool party. And obviously, it was, again, only one day, like the last few. But regardless, it was still cool that I was still able to get a 4th of July party out, even without the fence, still not being there after over 2 months. But that all came to an end right here, right after this party. Finally, after 2 long months of waiting, the fence was finally back on July 12th, 2023. Literally a week after the 4th of July party. The only thing missing during this time was a gate. But that would be added very quickly after on July 24th. With the fence finally being back and officially completed, it gave us an official new layout for the yard going forward. And honestly, this looks so much better. The layout looks much more different compared to what we saw earlier in the video. And this is how it will be going forward. And that wasn't all. The side yard gate also got updated, being much bigger than usual. But overall, that gate that we had previously was also starting to break apart as well. So it only made sense to do this as well. With all of that being said, the fence is officially back, and now events from this point forward can resume back to the way they normally would be, just with a new layout and a new fence. With all that said, we can officially declare this project was complete. It started on May 3rd and ended on July 12th. Wow! What a long project! Now, I don't know if any of you managed to notice this, but we never actually had a proper summer or water party in 2023. And you'd be correct, because there were neither of those in 2023. And that's where the Florida vacation comes in, which basically acted like both the summer and water party merged together. Now, this is technically not an event, just a vacation, but I thought I'd include it in here anyway, because technically if you look at it, it's basically a combination of both the summer and water parties all into one, which I know we've done before in 2021, but this was completely different. But it was mostly a lot of water. While there were a ton of palm trees in the background of this resort, this mostly consisted of water. Even recording some of this early in the day to make it more peaceful, which was beyond amazing. Even seeing the night variant of it was cool on July 20th, which was also the last day of the whole thing. Speaking of which, even though this wasn't an event, it started on July 17th and ended on the 21st. A 4-day vacation, which also ironically replaced the New York trip for the year. That's actually not a joke. So technically you got the summer and water party this year in the form of a vacation. That's all that needs to be said. But this view right here was honestly so cool. Alright, back to my yard. Now it was really time to test out that fence with all new decorations. And the first event we tested out the fence with was a mini Christmas in July event. It started on July 25th and only lasted the one day, which was an all-night event, which was pretty cool. as you would expect, the party consisted of mainly lights, and a few small decorations here and there. But mainly it was all lights. And honestly, I think this was probably the coolest event to test out the fence with in terms of events, since this was the first event to technically occur after the fence went up a few weeks beforehand. And honestly, I don't think I could have done it any better. While this was a very small party, it was pretty cool, and was one I was never really expecting to do. So much so that I ended up doing it on Legos Island on the exact same day. But we'll get to that in the next episode of the series. Either way, despite it being a very small party, the decorations looked pretty cool alongside the lights. And that's all that needs to be said about this party. In fact, I don't think there was even a logo for this because it was only like one day and very small. So we can just move on now. I probably won't do this event again, but you never know. Exactly a month after the Christmas in July mini event was the Backyard Videos 7th anniversary plus 800 subscribers party. It started on August 25th and was only supposed to last the one day. But it ended up happening to end on the 28th instead because I forgot to take it down. I got so many events I forgot to remove. But that ain't anything new. I've had to do that in previous years as well. Now, of course, with it being the first event in exactly a month, and it being a combination of two, the backyard was decorated with decorations dedicated to both 800 subscribers and the 7th anniversary of Backyard Videos, with 800 subscribers being hit on August 23rd, 2023, and Backyard Videos 7th anniversary being on August 25th, 2023. Originally, the milestone party was supposed to occur before the anniversary of Backyard Videos, but it was hit way too close to the anniversary for it to be separate. Also, I was just starting out my school year at that time, and I ironically hit the milestone while I was in class that day of August 23rd. So that also could explain. And that day was actually pretty busy, so definitely I couldn't do it until the 25th, until I was off for the weekend. Which, oh yeah, starting from this point forward, we are now entering the events that occurred while I'm in the first semester of the school year at USF. So do bear in mind of that going forward, as there actually will not be that many events after this point. Oh, that's right. This party also marked the return of the pink pool noodle for the first time in over 5 years since the Color Party 2018-2 during the Backyard Final Days in May 2018. That's right, it actually returned! And it only took 5 years. That's insane, man. Regardless, that was really cool and it was nice to have that back. We still have yet to get a yellow one, and then it will be officially complete. Oh, and maybe there were just a few lights hung up here as we can see. Just only one. The pinwheels were set up for the 800 subscriber celebration, alongside the blue noodles. Oh, and this. Everything else, on the other hand, was for the 7th anniversary of Backyard Videos. Speaking of which, this was the first Backyard Videos anniversary party in over 2 years to be held in my backyard, but the first proper one in 3 years to be held in my yard. Because the 5th anniversary was nothing special. That was probably the laziest one I did yet. And I did make a promise in the 6th anniversary episode that we would be back here the next year. And I wasn't wrong, because we never went there that year to New York. And of course, a project was made as well to celebrate both these milestone and anniversaries respectively. Pretty cool. I honestly did a much better job at this than the 5th anniversary of Backyard Videos. And also the 6th anniversary as well, despite it being in a different location. Because this time there were like actual decorations this time. So, that's cool. And that's all that needs to be said. Oh, and who could forget about the Backyard Video 7th anniversary pin being one of the most colorful Backyard Video anniversary pins of all frickin' time. I did not need to go that crazy, but I'm glad I did because it was so cool. The next event to occur in the backyard was the Celebration of Fall 2023. It started on September 21st and ended on the 28th. Due to all of the shed decorations for the Celebration of Fall being thrown out on December 30th, 2022, obviously all new decorations had to be bought for this very celebration. The only thing being brought back was the fall hat. No, like literally, that was the only thing that was brought back. Everything else was new. This would be the first Celebration of Fall in 5 years to use entirely different decorations. which honestly was really cool. I was pretty excited for this event at the time, just for that alone. I made so many episodes leading up to it, and the event came out amazing. Using all new decorations for this really does show that, hey, you can still keep the event ongoing. Now that we don't have the same decorations anymore. It was really cool finally changing things up entirely. Which the decorations turned out to be amazing. And honestly, are probably even better than the ones I had all those years ago. In fact, there was an episode every single day of this party, and there were a ton of items as well. But those leaves, man, those look so cool. And the shirt also looked amazing too. The entire backyard was decorated, okay, maybe except for the side yard, but basically every single room in the backyard was updated for this party to mainly consist of the new decorations. Honestly, one of the best celebration of falls I have ever made. And I'm actually being serious. I am way too proud of this event. And one of the most proud events I made that entire year. Well, that would be until an event at the end of the year would eventually take that place, which we'll get to very soon. Speaking of the next event, the next event to occur in the backyard was the 7 Days of Fun 2023. It started on September 28th and was originally supposed to end on October 5th, but it actually ended on October 7th instead because the last activity came out a few days late. But honestly, it was worth it because it ended up being the most epic one. Speaking of which, this was the second 7 Days of Fun in a row to feature a location difference. But unlike the 7 Days of Fun 2022, it was only for a few days, rather than the whole thing. But we'll get back to this in a minute, as this didn't take place till day 2, as we could clearly see right here at the title. Day 1 of the 7 Days of Fun 2023 on Thursday, September 28th, was a project to kick off the event. In my workshop, of course. It was mainly a project made out of leis and some other fall decorations, as the fall event had just ended at the time. Not a bad way to start off the event. But day 2 is where things get more insane. As I just said, there was a location difference just 2 days into the event. That is insane. It occurred from days 2 through 4 respectively. Friday, September 29th, Saturday, September 30th, and Sunday, October 1st. For September 29th, the fun activity of the day was discovering this location for the first time ever, which was in Orlando, because I was visiting Ambrose and Rose Crystal at the time for a little weekend trip. So that was really fun, and there's your proof this wasn't a joke. Overall, there wasn't much to do in this location, but it was really cool that for the second 7 Days of Fun in a row, we get a location difference. And I purposely put 7 Days of Fun right in this very weekend on purpose for that alone. So honestly, that was pretty clever. Of course, nothing will top 2022. But let's move on to day 3. Day 3 on September 30th, 2023 did not go as planned, as the original intention was to get an evening-themed episode in this location. Unfortunately, we instead had a night episode in this location, which, you know what, that actually kind of makes a little sense. I mean, we were only there for like 2 days. But the original premise for this, and that's also why it says original plan in this video, was again an evening episode in this location just to see the beautiful sun glow. Unfortunately, that did not end up happening. For day 4 on Sunday, October 1st, 2023, originally, the original premise was going to be an early morning episode in this location right before I left. Unfortunately, it ended up actually raining for that entire morning, which sucked. But, yeah. Oh well. On day 5, Monday, October 2nd, 2023, we were back in my house and backyard for the rest of this thing. And also should be back here for the rest of the year, which we were. For day 5, it was showcasing a sneak peek of the upcoming Halloween party, which occurred just a few weeks later after this event ended. So yep, day 5 was a sneak peek for the upcoming Halloween party just a few weeks later, which was super cool. With all that being said, that's really cool. And it made sense because it was October. Overall, this was great. On day 6, Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, we continued the whole Halloween sneak peek thing by testing out the Halloween-themed lights in the backyard, and I think also my kitchen as well, as there was an outlet there for a plug. Those turned out amazing, and that was pretty cool. They honestly looked pretty cool, and when the actual event occurred only a few weeks later, it was definitely worth it. So that's it for day 6. We only got one more, day 7. And as I stated earlier, the 7th activity came out a few days late, hence why it ended on October 7th rather than October 5th. This was originally planned for October 4th, the final day of 7 Days of Fun 2023, was probably the most epic one, as if not having a location change was not already insane enough, which it was. We ended things off by truly testing the limits of the GoPro. By going underwater. That's right, we actually went underwater during this, which was obviously really cool. The point behind this was it was finally time to test the true limits of the GoPro by doing an underwater ring hunt. It did take a few days to get it out, but regardless, this was probably the coolest way to end off the 7 Days of Fun 2023. I purposely wanted to save this one for last because it was probably the most epic one. Oh yeah, I think even around this time, or actually not long before this, I think we got entirely new rings for this. So that was pretty cool. Or actually, this might have actually been around the time I actually got them, actually. Either way, this was so cool, and was honestly the coolest way to end off this event once and for all. With all that being said, and the 7 Days of Fun officially complete, now let's move on to the next event. The next event to occur in the backyard was the Halloween Party 2023 Lights of Terror. This was a combination of the Halloween Party and the Night of Lights all into one event. Now, I know we did something similar to this 3 years prior in 2020, but this time it was like the actual Halloween event, where all of the Halloween decorations were there alongside the lights, making this the true official version of this concept. It started on October 27th and ended on November 3rd. It was originally supposed to be October 25th through November 1st, but it ended up coming out 2 days late because I just... Actually... Wait, I know! It's because LEGO's Island Halloween 2023 took forever to make the day I was originally going to do it. So I had to do it a few days later. What's actually funny is that this ended up actually being the first Halloween party in the entire backyard's history to start and end on the exact same day as the previous year's event, because 2022's went for the exact same length, which was insane at the time. Now that I got that over with, because of this being a combination, we've put those Halloween orange and purple lights to use that we used at the beginning of the month for 7 Days of Fun for testing purposes, and actually made something insane about it. You can tell it was truly an epic combination. Lights around Halloween decorations? That was honestly very interesting, even if we already did this a few years ago, but we didn't fully enhance it until 2023. Some Halloween decorations were also brand new during this party, which was pretty cool. Oh, and this also, because of it being a combination, was the first ever time in Night of Light history that the lights did not change every single night. Mainly because it was way too difficult, because we had plug-in lights now rather than just battery operated. Plus, you would need an extension cord to get those to work anyway, so it became a lot more difficult, so that concept was scrapped. The workshop featured the multicolored lights. The same can be said with the tripod area. The pond view featured the purple Halloween lights. Oh, and around this time, we got some Halloween-themed solar lights, which are still there to this very day, permanently, as it honestly makes a whole lot of sense. But those were implemented before this party. A few days after 7 Days of Fun ended, to be specific. But back to the point. The field had the orange Halloween lights. And also the green ones as well. Right here to be specific. And finally, but not least, the tree next to the garden featured the red lights. On October 29th, 2023, just 2 days after the party started, more rooms were decorated, such as the shed and side yard, featuring green lights and a few other extra decorations that weren't there on day one, mainly because I completely forgot I had them. So that was pretty cool. Oh, and the shirt was pretty cool too. Although honestly though, I think we probably should have done that in black to fit the theme a bit more. But, oh well. I unfortunately thought of that after making the shirt, so rip. Oh yeah, this was also the first Halloween party, I think, ever to feature my traditional Halloween shirt that I normally wear on Halloween every year. So that was freaking awesome, which can explain this specific scene right here. And with all that said, that's it. The next party to occur in the backyard was a one-day mini event celebrating hitting 900 subscribers on this channel on November 9th, 2023. The event only lasted 1 day for that reason alone, and was the only other subscriber milestone party to start on the day we hit the milestone, the only one being the 800 that we didn't. With this only being a one-day mini event, the backyard was decorated with the following: a ton of lights and fall decorations. Basically, these lights actually ended up staying up for the milestone party after the Halloween party. But this was honestly so cool. This would also be the last milestone I would hit in 2023, because as of recording this video, I have 963 subscribers as of recording this video. So we're almost to 1,000, but we'll get there when we get there. Regardless, this was a really cool party to celebrate 900 subscribers on this channel, even though it mainly only consisted of lights. But hey, you know what? Why not? It was a celebration. Why not go wild? But not too wild, as you could probably see. It was just honestly so pretty, just seeing all these beautiful lights out here. And I actually did get a few new lights, actually. Like some of these multicolored lights I actually got not long before the celebration. In fact, the day before this celebration went live and the day before I hit the milestone, the blue lights were introduced to the workshop at the time. And I bought a few extra multicolored lights alongside it for no reason. But hey, it came out fantastic. And with all that said, the only item given out was, I think, a pin. Yep, literally, this was the only item given out. And with all that being said, let's move on to the second to last event of the year. That being a full-on Thanksgiving celebration. In past years, it was normally just a small little setup in the tripod area. But no, this time I actually wanted to take full advantage and actually make something out of it by getting entirely new decoration. Which, for the 4th time this year, we now have official decorations dedicated to Thanksgiving, which was super cool. The scarf was obviously available like normal, but this was the first full-on Thanksgiving mini event, and ended up being the main event of November. Speaking of which, it started on November 23rd and was originally supposed to end on the 26th, but at the time I was taking N-Pros and Rose Crystal back to their apartment at college, so that took up a majority of the day, so I took it down on the 27th instead. But regardless, this event ended up being stupid cool anyway. It was so cool finally getting a full-on Thanksgiving event, and getting entirely new decorations for it was also super cool. Oh, and finally, after 5 years, we finally make a Thanksgiving shirt alongside it as well, to truly make this the first ever definitive Thanksgiving event. This was so cool, man. And, well, we only got one event left. And oh boy, this was incredible! The final event of the year, the Christmas party 2023. Oh my god! I think I'm even more proud of this event than the Summer Luau in 2020. Oh my god! This was way better than the Christmas plus Winter Fair in 2022. Oh my god, do I have a lot to tell you here. This has honestly got to be my new personal favorite backyard Christmas party. I am way too proud of how this came out. This is not only my personal favorite Christmas party, but the most proud I have also been for a backyard event as a whole. In the entire backyard's history, including the old backyard, I have never gone to this extent. To clarify what I'm referring to, the backyard was decorated with a ton of Christmas decorations, with basically every single winter and fair element completely removed from the previous year, and only now back to being focusing on just Christmas decorations. But this is where it gets fun. The item stocking concept from 2021 did make a return alongside the turning on lights in 20 seconds challenge. But these were handled a bit differently. Instead of having to get something to unlock a set item, you just get them free from a stocking around the backyard. There were 5 total. Them being in the workshop, shed, tripod area, pond view, and side yard respectively. Also, can I just take the opportunity just to say that this is honestly the greatest backyard event logo I think I have ever made. I did not need to go this nuts, but I did anyway. Oh yeah, I'll talk about the dates right now, actually. It was originally supposed to start on December 15th. However, due to a massive storm in Florida and across the east coast of the US, I had to delay it to December 17th. But honestly, the wait was worth it, even though the video didn't come out till 3 days after that. And the shirt ended up also being amazing too. This party was a combination of new decorations that I bought in 2023 and all of the previous Christmas decorations from the 2022 event that weren't winter or fair related, just Christmas themed. And honestly, it came out incredible. This was the first ever Christmas party to use plug-in lights, and a lot of them at that. I strung them across the fence, that tree, and the trees in the tripod area to create something I honestly was never expecting. One of, if not, the greatest Christmas events of all time. This was one of the first backyard events that I actually preferred delaying just so I can take my time and not rush it. And the outcome was honestly worth it. You guys really did seem to love this. And with all of that being said and in mind, I am honestly just way too proud of this. This was the most effort I had ever put in for a single Christmas party and probably a backyard event overall. And I thought the Summer Luau of 2020 was the biggest one I ever put so much effort into. No, we have a new record here, people. And it only took 3 years. Every single item except for the Christmas scarf was brand new. I used basically every single light I could possibly find to make this beautiful, and it definitely shows. But what's crazy is that the side yard almost didn't end up getting decorated until last minute, which was crazy. I even say it in the video here, but it's true. Basically, no area of the yard was untouched. Everywhere was decorated, and I mean everywhere. I basically left no part of the backyard undecorated. And the candy canes finally returned after 2 years and were placed alongside the solar lights from October. And after 3 long years, my original vision from 2020 where the lit up candy canes would be in the pond view was finally achieved, as I was finally able to get it to work. It only took 3 years. But hey, we got it to work. And it came out incredible. What's more incredible is that all of the garland from the previous year was on the fence, right below the lights. We also got not 1, but 2 new Santa hats in this party. A disco Santa hat and a blue Santa hat, which was freaking amazing! And if it wasn't obvious, this was mainly a nighttime party, much like the 2017 party and 2021. But if you thought this event couldn't have gotten any more epic than it already has, we hit 1,200 episodes of Backyard videos on Christmas Day. Finally delivering that one promise I've been promising you all since 2019 of doing an episode on Christmas Day itself. And what better way, unexpectedly as well, for it to be the 1,200th episode, which I did not see coming. That was not planned. It just all ended up lining up somehow. And the only thing that was given out during this party, well, actually, it isn't even considered anything. It was just an add-on to the event. It was mainly just this pin, given out in the tripod area behind the stocking it was located there. Sorry. That was honestly so cool. Oh, and we did finally have a gold variant of the Merry Christmas sign from the year prior, so that was pretty cool. And after all of that, the event ended, originally planning to be December 26th, the day after Christmas. However, because of its delay, I let it go until the 27th instead to make up for its delay. And guys, that wraps up the Backyard events of 2023. I can also confirm that for the first time since the 2017 event story, it is finally under an hour. But we're almost to an hour, so let's end it before we actually get to that. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Saturday Stories. Like, guys, this year was insane. We went through a lot of changes this year. Oh, and yeah, that item was also a thing too, but that was mainly for Christmas Day, not the milestone. It just happened to land on that day, ironically. But seriously though, this was honestly a very insane year for the Backyard, and I am beyond proud of a lot of the accomplishments that we achieved. The layout of the yard looked pretty much completely different now thanks to the fence, and the shed was thankfully fixed this year, so we got a few things done. And overall, this year was honestly so cool. Probably not one of my favorite years, but honestly, one of my personal favorite years. Probably since, I don't know actually, but it's definitely one of my favorite years for the first time in a while. I had so much fun this year, despite all of course, the construction that occurred around the yard, which made all these insane changes happen that we saw throughout the video. And overall, these were all worth it. And the Christmas event at the end, I don't think we'll ever be able to top an event like this. This had to be my personal favorite Backyard Christmas event of all time. And my personal favorite Backyard event of all time as well. Oh, and I do apologize if I did ramble on a bit long about the Christmas event. It's just, it was my most proud event of the year. So I had to. I'll see you all in the next episode on January 6th, where we're going to be taking a look at the Legos Island events of 2023. See you then. And here's to an incredible 2024 for the Backyard. Hopefully a few more events, maybe?